Hello everybody, this is the Photoshop Workbench and I'm Mark Johnson. Thanks for being here. Since most of us prefer devoting time to being creative with Photoshop rather than burning up precious minutes on tedious tasks like retouching, I've developed a quick and efficient portrait retouching workflow that reveals dramatic improvements in just 5 to 10 minutes. In today's tutorial, we'll learn how to brighten eyes and eye sockets, reduce wrinkles, remove blemishes, smooth skin, add light to irises, trim eyebrows, sharpen eyes, add contrast to irises, darken eyebrows and lashes, and whiten teeth, all in the context of a fun, fast, non-destructive workflow. Since skin smoothing is the most time-consuming part of the retouching process, we'll use an action that can be played back on any image that requires smoothing. As a bonus, I'm making this action available for immediate download right here on the tutorial page. Alright, to save time, we're going to focus all of our attention on the model's face rather than her arms, neck, and chest. So we're going to make the face look wonderful here. It's already a beautiful face, but we're going to go in and do some very quick retouching things. We're going to make it look wonderful, and we're going to do it very quickly. The first thing that we want to do is brighten the eyes and then these shadow areas here in the eye socket. And we're going to do that by adding a levels adjustment layer. So we'll dive right into the adjustments panel, which you can find listed alphabetically right here under Window. And we are going to hold down Option or Alt if we're on a PC, and then click here on the Levels icon. And the reason we're doing this is we want to change the blend mode from normal to screen. Now we'll press OK, and you'll see that there's an immediate brightening effect across the whole image. Well, we only want this brightening effect around the eyes. So what we're going to do is invert this mask, and we're going to do that very quickly with a Command or Control I to invert the mask. Alright, now we're going to grab the brush. So we'll click here, or we'll tap B to get to the brush, and we want to work with white here. If you want your default foreground and background colors, you can click right here or tap D for default, and then you can swap those colors by hitting this arrow right here, or you can tap X to exchange them. Alright, now what I'm going to do is make my brush bigger by tapping the right bracket key. I am working with a soft edge brush. This is the default soft edge brush, and I want to make sure the opacity is at 100%. So I'll tap 0 to get to 100% very quickly, or I can scrubby slide right over the word opacity. Now when I paint this brightening effect on, it's going to look like she laid out in the sun, got a nice tan, and was wearing sunglasses, and so it's very bright around the eyes. We're going to fix that in just a moment. So I'm looking at these shadow areas like right in here. I want to add some light in there, and I want to add some light on the eyes as well. Okay, and then I'm going to come into here and brighten up this area and then the eyes as well. Now I might want to brighten this area down here just a little bit, but maybe not quite as substantially. So I'm going to tap maybe 3 for 30%, and I'm going to paint over this area right down here for just a little bit of brightening in that region. Alright, now as I said, this does not look natural. When we're retouching, we want to do everything with a gentle touch. So we want it to look realistic. That means we're going to hover over the word opacity here in the layers panel, and we're going to drag left until we add light to the eyes, but we have a natural look. So something maybe like that. And I'm going to switch the visibility on and off so I can see before and after. That's looking pretty good. I'm actually going to back this down just a little bit more. So we've got this. Alright, now what we want to do is we want to reduce the wrinkles. And since we're working in a non-destructive push forward quickly type of workflow, what we're going to do is we're going to create a merged layer of these two layers right up on top of this stack. And you can do that by holding down Option or Alt and choosing Layer Merge Visible. Okay, so Option or Alt and then Layer Merge Visible. Or you can do, let's see, what keys is this? It's Command Option Shift E on the Mac, or it's Control Alt Shift E on the PC if you want to just use the keyboard shortcut. Alright, so I'm Option or Alt merging visible here. It's creating a new layer that represents these two visible layers right there. And on this one we're going to reduce the wrinkles. And we're going to do that using the patch tool that you find right here. So since she's very young, we do not have a lot of pronounced wrinkles to work with here. Now again, the name of the game in this case is to just work on the wrinkles, not the blemishes. And for the moment, we are going to completely eliminate the wrinkles, but we're going to bring them back in just a moment. So I'm going to go around this wrinkle that we see right here. And then what I'm going to do, and I'm working with the patch tool in its normal configuration right here, I'm going to drag down to an area that does not have a wrinkle and let go. Now when I choose Select, Deselect, or Command or Control D, you'll see there's no wrinkle there. Now I can come up to this one here, go around that, drag down, come to this one here, go around that, drag down, and I'm going to continue this process going around all the wrinkles on the face and completely eliminating them for now. But remember, they're going to come back in a reduced form in just a moment. So I'm going to go around this spot here. And I'm going to go around this one here. And then drag up to an area that looks like it could pretty much belong there. I'll choose Select, Deselect, or Command or Control D. Get rid of that. Look for any more other wrinkles. There's a little one here. A little bit of one right here as well. Alright, and then got a little something happening right here. Deal with that one. And one right in here. And we got just a little one right there. Okay, so right now if I just switch off visibility for this layer, you can see there she is with those subtle wrinkles, and here she is with absolutely no wrinkles. Well, what we want to do is take her from her current age and then just reduce that age by, maybe 5 to 8 years. So we're just trying to reduce the wrinkle effect. So we're going to hover over the word opacity here and slide left. I've gone all the way to 0, and now I'm going to just push this back up to something like this. So now the wrinkles are there. They're just very subtle, so they've been slightly reduced. Alright, now we want to deal with blemishes. Blemishes are usually things that you want to completely eliminate. So we are going to, again, merge our visible layers here. So I'm holding Option or Alt and choosing Layer, Merge Visible. And on this layer, I am going to eliminate the blemishes using a different tool. I'm going to use the Spot Healing Brush for this. Okay, and by the way, I should mention that when you view an image at 50% magnification, like it is right now, this is pretty much how it's going to look on a printed page in terms of the blemishes, the wrinkles, the sharpening, all of that. 50% magnification is how it will look on a printed page. Obviously, if it's going to screen, then you're probably going to want to work with 100% magnification. Alright, so I am zooming up here just so I can get a better view of this, and I'm going to paint over the blemishes. So I'm just literally clicking or painting on any of the little blemishes that I see. And we're going to completely eliminate these. If we don't want to completely eliminate these, and I'm going to pretend that we have an art director who does not want the little nose earring there, or nose ring there. And let's go in here. Work over these areas. On a spot like this, you can see how the blemish is behind the hair, so I'm actually going to click and slide down. Worked reasonably well. If that doesn't work well enough, instead of working with Content Aware, which is default behavior here, go ahead over to Proximity Match and try the same thing. Proximity match actually worked better in that instance. So you can work with Content Aware or Proximity Match, and they're both going to work a little bit differently, but between the two of them you should be able to get rid of blemishes pretty easily. And I'm not going to go for perfection here because I want to keep this somewhat brief, but you can see that I have now eliminated most of the blemishes on the face. And I did it again very quickly. You can work very fast with this. Back that down just a little so you can see here's a moment ago and here's now. Now if I wanted to bring those blemishes back a little bit, I can always pull the opacity here and bring them back subtly, but I do not want to bring those back. So this image has now gone from here to here. Moving forward with it, it's starting to look better, but at this point what we want to do is smooth out the skin. So we want to take the pores and just smooth them a little bit. Again, we really want to use a lot of taste as we do this process. Now when it comes to skin smoothing, there is an action that really helps with this process. So rather than taking the time to walk you through how to create the action, I've actually included the action as a download with this tutorial. So if you look at the text associated with this tutorial, there is a download link for this action. So I'm going to go ahead and pretend that I have downloaded the action, and now what I want to do is load it into Photoshop and then use it. So I'm going to go ahead and hide Photoshop here. And you can see this is the action. It's just been downloaded. It has been unzipped because it comes as a zip file. And there is the action. It's a .atn file. I'm at the Finder level, or if you're on the PC, it's going to be the Explorer level. I'm going to double click on this file and it will load, and it's right here on the icon where I want to double click. It will load into Photoshop's Actions panel when I do that. Pretty slick. And by the way, when it comes to storing your actions, I highly recommend putting them into a unique actions folder that you create rather than the Photoshop Actions folder. That way you always know where your actions are, even if you take an older version of Photoshop and throw it away. So your unique actions folder in a meaningful location for you. So I'll go into the Actions panel, and here is the action. It is called, the set that the action is called Skin Smoothing, and the action itself is called Smoother Skin Action. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the action in the Actions panel, which you can find listed alphabetically right here. And then I'm going to press the play button with the action, not the set, but the action active. I'll press the play button, and it's going to do several steps here that are going to make this skin just beautiful. All right, now I can't see what has happened because the last step in the action adds a black filled mask hiding the effect. So if I temporarily, and this isn't something you need to do, but if I hold the Shift key and click on the mask, it switches off the black filled mask so you can see the skin smoothing effect. As you can see here, it's affecting the entire picture, and so that's why we added a black filled mask, because what we need to do now after we played the action is grab the brush tool, and we need to paint over the skin areas that we want to smooth. We want to paint at 100% opacity, so I'm going to tap 0 to get to 100% very fast. I'm using a soft brush, a white brush, because I'm painting on a black mask, and I'm going to paint right over these areas through here. Just the skin. Stay away from the detailed areas like eyebrows, eyes, and lips, things like that. Now, if you want to see what's happening really well, you can hit the backslash key on your keyboard. You can see exactly where you've painted. Beware, sometimes when you tap the backslash key, Photoshop plays a little trick on you. It swaps your colors. So you should be painting right now with white paint, so that should be your foreground color, and you should see white paint going down on your mask right here. And I'm going to paint into all areas that I want to smooth. So I'm avoiding the eyes. Just come up into this area right through here. And I'm sizing my brush, by the way, as I work. I'm sizing my brush a lot. I'm going smaller with the left bracket key or larger with the right bracket key. Here we go. Whoops. That wasn't the bracket key, that was the backslash key. All right, let's come into here. Work down through this region. And again, you don't have to be perfect with this. People won't notice if you're imperfect, but closer you get, better the image is going to look. So that backslash key really helps out in this instance. shows me where I'm creating a softening effect. So I'm going to hit the backslash key again, and I'm going to switch the visibility on and off for this layer so you can see before and after. Look at that. Look how there are still pores, but they have been smooth because we played back the action and then painted the mask. And that's all we had to do. Now, if you find that the smoothing is too little or too much, you can come here to the Gaussian blur filter that was applied as part of the action. Go ahead and double click on Gaussian blur. And what you can do is you can play around. Now, this is strange, but if you want softer skin, you actually blur less. If you want sharper skin, you blur more. So just by pulling this little slider here, you can get exactly the look you want for that skin. So like here's sharper, here's softer. I actually liked where it was, which was 4 pixels. That looks pretty good. But just by pulling that slider, you can get the skin looking exactly the way you want it to look. So we've now gone from here to here. And I'm talking about all this, so it's taking more than 5 or 10 minutes. But as you work through this, if you do this on 10 images, you're going to have it down. You're going to be able to move very quickly through this process. All right, now let's add a little bit of light to the irises. And we're going to do that by adding a blank new layer in overlay mode. So I'm going to hold Option or Alt and click right here on Create a New Layer. And I'm going to change the blend mode to overlay. Now I'll click OK. I'm going to zoom up a little closer for this. Go all the way up to 100%. Grab the brush right here. Make sure that white is my foreground so I can hit the arrow there or tap X. And now I'm at 100% using a soft edge brush. What I want to do is kind of find the area opposite of these catch lights, which would be right down in here. And I want to click to add light. I'm going to make my brush 1 notch bigger and click to add a little bit of light down there. I'm going to do the same thing here. You can also paint. I'm just clicking to make it nice and fast. So you can see there's a little bit of light right there as well. So that is light in the eyes. Obviously it's really intense, doesn't look natural, but if you simply scrubby slide over the word opacity here, you can get that light looking just the way you want it to look. Maybe something like that. Really makes a difference adding that little bit of light to the eyes. Now we're going to trim the eyebrows, and in order to do that we need to again create a composite layer from these visible layers here. So it's Option or Alt and then Layer, Merge, Visible. Alright, now what we're going to do is grab the lasso tool, and what we want to do is draw a lasso selection that mimics the shape of the top of the eyebrow, the way it should be shaped. And we want to do this right up above, so I'm coming right up here, right up above the existing eyebrow. And then we want to loop up. It doesn't really matter how we make the top part of this because it's not going to be used, but we want to loop up and come back to here. Alright, now I want to take and float that selection up to its own layer. And I'll do that with a Command or Control J. Now I'm going to use the Move tool here and drag that down and trim. Oh, I forgot to do one thing, one very critical thing here. I didn't feather it. So let's try that again. It really helps to feather it. Oops, I was a little off track there. I find, by the way, I'm working with a mouse today, but I find that working with a tablet, it works a little bit easier than trying to draw, and I'm having a hard time drawing that, so let's go here. A little bit easier than working with a mouse, but you can absolutely do this with a mouse. Alright, so what I want to do is feather this. So I'm going to choose Select, Modify, and Feather. And you want to feather this between 5 and 10 pixels, depending upon how soft you want the top edge of the eyebrow to look. 6 pixels usually works pretty well. I'm going to go with that. Now float it to its own layer, Command or Control J, and use the Move tool to move it down and trim the top of the eyebrow. And I'm going to go to right about there, I think. Let me see. Yep, so that just trims the top part. Now, if you find, because maybe you selected a little bit higher up here, that this area is a little bit too bright, quick fix for that is to pop into the Adjustments panel, hold Option or Alt, and click on the Curves Adjustment Layer icon. and then clip this curve into the layer of skin that you just repositioned. So I'll press OK. Now with the curves, I like to work with the on-image controls, or the targeted adjustment tool is what this is called. Mine's on by default, and that is because right over here I auto select targeted adjustment tool. I checked this, and that means that the targeted adjustment tool is on by default. If yours isn't switched on, you can click right here, and now you can actually click on that skin right there and drag down until you have a match in the tones. And I really don't know if I need to darken that at all. Maybe the slightest little bit. There we go. So here's the trimmed eyebrow. Now let's go back to the merge layer here. You want to work on that one. Grab the lasso, and we're going to work on this eyebrow right over here. Again, trying to mimic the general shape of the top of the eyebrow. Now come back to here. I want to make sure I feather it this time, so I'll choose select. I'm having a total blank right there. Okay, select, modify, and feather. Which I love it when your brain just sort of shuts off for a moment. So select, modify, feather. I'll go with 6 pixels. Float that up to a new layer, Command or Control J. Using the Move tool, I'll move that right down on top here, just like that. And I can move that in subtle increments using the down and up arrow keys on the keyboard. And that one doesn't look like it needs any changing of the brightness or the tonal values. If it did, I could borrow this one right here. I could Option or Alt drag this down right there. And then I could clip it in by Option or Alt clicking right here, and then it would be affecting just this bit of skin right here. And that actually is fine. Looks good. Alright, so now what we want to do is sharpen the eyes. So I am going to go up to the top layer here, the topmost layer. Again, Option or Alt, and then Layer, Merge Visible. Okay, and to sharpen these eyes, I'm going to go ahead and go up to 100% here so I can really see them. I am going to use a tool that, as of version CS6, is a really magnificent tool to use in Photoshop. I'm going to use the Sharpen tool. Prior to CS6, I wouldn't touch this thing, but now it's wonderful. So I'm going to the Sharpen tool. I want to make sure that Protect Detail is checked. That's the default. And then strength, let's go with about 20%. So I could, you can tap the number keys. 5 would be 50%, 2 would be 20%. And I want to paint right over the iris and the pupil here. And do the same thing right here. Bring some sharpness into those. And then I'm going to go ahead and paint. I like to actually paint over the whole eye, including the eyelashes. Bring in a little bit more sharpening there. I'll come over to here and do the same thing there. Just hitting the eyelashes and making sure I get the whole eye, just like this. Now let me show you. Here's a moment ago, and here's now. See how those eyes are so much sharper? And it's a wonderful sharpening, unlike prior to version CS6. Alright, now we're going to add a little bit of contrast to the irises. So I need to, again, choose Layer, Merge Visible, and I want to do this while I'm holding Option or Alt, so I can get this merge layer here. And I'm going to change the blend mode of this to either overlay or soft light. Let's try overlay. That's pretty extreme contrast. So let's try soft light. That's better. It's still too strong, but that's okay because we're going to isolate it with a mask, and so we can work with the mask here. So what I'm going to do is hold Option or Alt and click right here on the front-loading washing machine to add a black filled mask. Now I want to paint over just the iris. Now I want to use the brush, not the sharpening tool. I want to make sure I have white as my foreground. Opacity is at 100%. Let me go ahead and just paint right over the iris. It's a bit intense, so I'm just going to Command or Control Z that. And I'll tap 5 to go to 50% opacity. And now I'll do this. There we go. So there's before and here's after. So we really have made a difference on the eyes with these last few moves here. Gone from there to here. And that doesn't even include the adding the light to the eyes. So those two steps I'll show you in just a moment. I'm actually going to back down the opacity for this whole layer a little bit. I feel like the contrast is a little bit strong there. So go with something like this. Alright, we are almost done. I want to show you how to darken eyebrows and eyelashes. So that helps a bit too. So in order to do that, we are going to hold Option or Alt and click right here to create a blank new layer. And we want to set the blend mode of this layer to overlay and press OK. Now I'm going to paint over the eyebrows and the eyelashes with black. So I'm going to tap X to swap my colors, and I want to go with a low opacity like 10%. So I'll tap 1, and I'm just going to paint right here. This is going to build just a little tiny bit of density into the eyebrows. And I'll come over here on the eyelash and these lower eyelashes as well, just like this. There we go. So you can see, again, subtle effect, but makes a difference. Alright, let me show you the complete before and after on this image. Just back it up just a little bit here. So you can see this image started right here, already looking pretty good because it was lit well, and it ended up right here. I may have added a little bit too much light to the eyes with the step where I added an overlay, a blank overlay layer and painted with white. There's a little bit too strong in there, I think. But overall, by and large, looking substantially better now than it was 5 to 10 minutes ago. And again, I've been talking, so it's actually longer than that. So I want to show you one last thing that I can't do here. Her teeth aren't showing, so I'm going to go to an image of me right here. And I'm just going to show you how to remove a little bit of yellowing that happens in our teeth as we get older. So we're going to go into the Adjustments panel, and I'm going to add a Hue Saturation Adjustment layer to this. Alright, so here's the Hue Saturation Adjustment layer. Just like curves, my targeted adjustment tool is switched on. It's ready to go, and that's because of this choice right here. Alright, since that's clicked on, ready to go, what I can do is go right over the teeth, click and drag left. If I go all the way, you'll see that I'm going to have gray teeth. And you can see it's also affecting the yellows in the background, but we don't have to worry about that because we have a mask. But I do want to make my teeth look less yellow, but not gray. So I'll go with something maybe like that. Okay. Alright, you can see now that's impacting my teeth and the background. So what I want to do is fill this mask with black. That's Command or Control I. And then activate the brush tool. White's my foreground. I'm going to paint with 100%, so I'll tap 0. I'm going to go up nice and big here. And I'm going to paint over these teeth. Just like this. And you can size that brush with the left bracket key smaller, right bracket key bigger. There we go. I'm not going to work with the bottom teeth right now because I don't want to put you to sleep. Alright, so there's that. You can see before and after, less yellow. Now if I want to go back in there, I can double click here, I can find those yellows and I make them a little bit, even a little bit less yellow. And then if I want to brighten, I can go up to Master here and then pull the lightness slider. And that will also allow me to brighten the teeth a little bit. So now you can see we've gone from here to here. We have less yellow, we have brighter teeth as well. So that takes care of the 10-minute Photoshop portrait retouch. I hope you got a lot out of this workbench. Hopefully this will speed you up a lot in your process, in your retouching process, so you can get on with doing things that are more creative with both your camera and Photoshop. Thanks for being with me on today's Photoshop workbench. Take care. Bye-bye.